Thank you so very much. Chuck Malamut, why is the New Jersey Broadcasters Association inducting your near lifelong pal, Harry Hurley, in the morning to the Hall of Fame?
Good morning, Harry.
Good morning, Chuck.
That's sort of a loaded question.
Hall of Famer you're working with, Chuck. Two-time Hall of Famer.
Harry.
Come on, baby.
Harry.
You taught me well, Chuck. Come on, take a bow. I'm your protege.
Oh, there you go. We'll take a compliment. Good morning. Yeah, actually, no. Hey, seriously, congratulations again. I mean, you think about everything that you've accomplished over the last 2.5 decades. Nothing short of remarkable. So congratulations again.
And you will admit that I am your protege. Come on, you can say it.
Yeah, Harry, in good times I will. Yeah,
it's a compliment.
I will admit that. Sure, absolutely. It was a long time ago.
Jennifer, do you want to go early or on time?
No, on time. I'm just
perfect. Good to see you, Jennifer. Okay, Miss America is going to be here momentarily. Chuck, give us an opening comment on the markets.
Well, Harry, we're at that. What I want to. It's certainly not summer doldrums because, one, it's June and it seems like it's very, very cold outside this morning after all the rain that we had last night. But I think what is happening here, the market is certainly in a trade. It's range bound, fair amount of volatility. As an example, as we got to the end of the week on Friday, a down day, a down week, and then we walk in on Monday. And we have a pretty good day yesterday. But I think the problem that we are faced with right now is that we are sitting here absolutely sitting on pins and needles, waiting for a couple things. One, what is the Fed going to do? The discussion.
How about now that GDP has been revised yet again, and now it is 0.07.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's minus. You're exactly right, Harry. I mean, let's take a step back here. So, if you go back and look in the year, let's look at 2014 for a minute. If you remember, in the first quarter, it was just awful. And a year ago, we had just a severe winter season, and that ultimately triggered a downturn in first quarter economic growth. Before the consumer, and again, we've always talked about, what does the consumer represent as far as the overall economy? The consumer, let us out, and we did have a rebound, and it helped the economy accelerate for the remaining portion of 2014. As we got into 2015, it looks as if we're witnessing the same chain of events. So as you just indicated last week, first quarter GDP was in fact revised lower to minus 0.7.
Can I put this into some context too, and then you take it back, Chuck, because you never get political during your show. And what I'm saying right now is also not political, and I don't want it to be misconstrued as though it is. I went back and checked since 1947, the average first quarter growth in the United States of America since 1947 until the past 7 years was 4%. We're growing at negative 0.43. I don't even know how I've committed this to memory, but it's true. 0.43 negative contraction for 7 consecutive years on the average.
And again, Harry, that goes back.
It's unprecedented in American history.
That goes back to the quote: "Are we living through the new norm?"
Well, it better not be.
So if you go back,
why is that statement even acceptable? What is that an excuse for something that's never existed in all of American history? Why would we even use a term "new norm"? Why wouldn't we say it is abnormal?
I agree with you, Harry. One is not only is it abnormal, it's unacceptable.
Because new norm makes it seem like, well, just things have changed and you just have to get used to it. This is the way it is now. No. What'd you do to make this like this? And let's stop doing that. That's my theory.
Harry, I agree. I mean, so if you go back to kind of close the loop on what happened during that revision for the first quarter, it was driven. Two basic functions, trade imbalance, and inventories. So now as we look ahead into the remaining part of the year, we think that, and again, I want to use the word think, that things will improve here. We're expecting the consumer sector, to then take us out, much like the consumer did in 2014. Now, there's a couple reasons for that, and again, you might disagree with me here on the next point, because I know you and Kirk, I listen to you obviously all the time, but if I recall, there might have been a discussion as late as just yesterday. The job market is starting to firm. It is starting to get a little bit better. Obviously, not here where we are in South Jersey. We have seen some wage acceleration, which helps. Which does help the consumer.
If it's getting better, how come we have the worst job participation rate in American history? If it's getting better.
Well, it's sort of a double-edged sword here. I mean, the fact of the matter is, the unemployment number we all know is not for real.
Garbage.
The fact that there are just so many disinterested people that don't want to work anymore, that doesn't help. But those that are getting into the workforce, what we're seeing, Harry, is that we have lower gas prices still at this point in time, even though they have moved up. We have some wage acceleration. So the thought process here, this should help the consumer spending as we get into the remainder part of this year. So the labor market should also contribute to the economy and hopefully we grow. And I think last but not least, the fact that the yield curve, the measurement of where rates are, is not inverted, meaning that short-term rates are still lower than long-term rates, and that typically points to a sign that the economy should continue to accelerate throughout the remainder of 2015.
Quick reset. You're listening to Chuck Malamut. As our usual, it's our 25th year of every Tuesday morning at this portion of our program in the 8 o'clock hour. We visit with our official financial advisor to early in the morning. Chuck knows that Miss America has just arrived. Come on in, Miss America 2015. Huge fan here. Say hello to my friend Chuck.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Pleasure.
The microphone is yours.
Oh, thank you. Okay, here we go.
And it is great to welcome Miss America 2015. I have to say, it doesn't seem possible. It seems like just yesterday that you sat up real close to the end of the stage, cool vibe, started to sing happy, play your red solo cup, and the rest is history,
and
isn't it?
And here we are, almost 9 months later.
My name is Harry. It is nice to
Nice
meet you,
to
Miss
meet
America.
you. Pleasure.
Great to see you.
Thanks for having me.
And I've worked very hard to try to pronounce your last name correctly because I see different people. Chris Harrison says it slightly differently than somebody I heard on ABC say it, slightly differently than someone else say it. Kira Kazantsev.
There you go.
Is that close?
Kazantsev, like expansive.
Kazantsev.
Yeah.
Got it.
Great.
Your name's never been mispronounced ever in your life, right?
Ever. Not. It does not happen every day.
I was thinking about, and we covered you from the balcony at one of the casinos as you came by, and I remember saying, could it be a three-peat? When Chris Harrison on national TV, and it's just you and one other contestant, so 2 out of 53, it's going to be one or the other, and he says it's the three-peat. And you, it's okay, and you immediately know that when it's the three-peat, that you have become Miss America.
That I won, yeah, because that.
Didn't have
I
to
was
wait
the only
for
one.
Miss New York.
Yeah.
Three-peat. How much pressure? I mean, great Miss America that followed you, Nina Davalori, who's, as you know, awesome. And then the Miss New York before that. 3 consecutive Miss New Yorks. It's unprecedented.
It's the first time in the organization's history. We've had a few double repeats, but it's the first time it's ever happened. So I don't know if it'll ever happen again, but it's been really exciting to be a part of that historic moment.
And tickets go on sale today for the 2016 Miss America competition, and there's awesome packages.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Exactly.
I'm running for re-election.
You're running for re-election for a lifetime term.
A lifetime term. Yeah, we're changing all the term requirements. Yes, tickets, unfortunately for me, are going on sale today for the Miss America 2016 pageant. The pageant itself will take place on September 13th, and you can buy season tickets, which mean you have access to all 3 nights of preliminary competition, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can also come down to our parade, which is free. Anybody can come down and yell, "Show us your shoes."
Isn't the parade awesome?
The parade is the most amazing experience. Unfortunately, last year it was torrential downpour. Yeah. I'm hoping that this year it's nicer weather since I'll get a second go around at it. But I just hope that everybody comes down and brings their friends, their families, and at least come to the final night of competition because it is an incredible experience.
What's it like? I'm a big fan, and we've covered the Miss America pageant and parade on this program for almost 25 years. I love it. We did it live for CBS one year on radio. Wow. It was great. We love it. And I followed you very, very closely because you were definitely one of the ones that I thought absolutely could win. And I just compartmentalized and cast aside that 2 other New Yorks won in a row because you have to base
Thank you.
You have to base it on you, not the fact that 2 people that, just happen to be from the same state had success. So it's really incredible that you were able to do it. But I remember it was something you were like the next to last person in talent to get to go up there.
Yeah, they kept on calling me toward the end.
That's like, yes.
Yeah, and so, they called me 13th, I think, for top 15, and then they called me second to last for the top 8. Or 10 or whatever it was that performed.
You have to worry, am I going to get called now? And the moment, it was a neat little twist that they changed. And that second, you got to just get right out there and do it.
Yeah. So you're sitting there, for me particularly, my sweaty palms were not helping with my cup routine to be. So it was probably one of the most pressure-filled moments I've ever had in my life, but to hear my name called was an incredible feeling.
And I knew about your platform, and then I watched Kathy Ireland give the question right before you, which would have been teed up for you.
Yes.
I'm thinking, oh.
But I'm glad I didn't get it, because it would have been too easy for me.
So it's better. You got a question that made you stretch a little bit.
Yes. It gave them a little bit more of my repertoire, and I was happy to be able to talk about something else that I'm very passionate about that still, in a way, relates to my platform.
I thought the way you handled it was Lee Merriweather, for those listening, that gave Kara the question that really, I think, in a close competition, and who knows, could be all the difference. That question may have been all the difference in you becoming Miss America 2015.
Yeah, so the job is not to walk around in a swimsuit. It's not to parade in an evening gown. It's to interview and talk. What I'm doing with you right now is what I do every day. And Miss America has to be able to do that and to do it eloquently and well. And that's when those decisions are made in that very last onstage question, and that's why it's so important.
And this, as you know, is the 95th anniversary of Miss America. We have Miss America 2015 here with us. And Miss America, in terms of your reign, how has it been? What's it been like? You've traveled the world. You had great impact, I believe. And I think your platform is so important because, as you know, domestic violence many times goes by unreported. People suffer in silence with this.
Absolutely. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men deal with domestic violence every single day. And it has been my greatest honor to get to represent the cause on a national level. I've created a new campaign called Put the Nail in It, where we encourage people to paint their left ring fingernail purple to show their support for ending domestic violence. It's been the most wonderful journey to get to be a part of that fight. I also serve as the National Goodwill Ambassador for Children's Miracle Network hospitals, visiting kids all across the country. And I work a lot with the USO and our servicemen and women, and that's been one of the greatest experiences and honors of my entire year. I got to go on an international USO tour, visit about 8,000 troops abroad in places like Afghanistan and Bahrain and South Korea, among many others.
I mean, with the vice chairman
of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, Admiral Winnefeld, and his wife, and several other really great people. And I will never forget that.
What's it like when you go from Miss New York to all of a sudden Chris Harrison on before millions of people names you Miss America 2015, and then your life is never the same?
No, it's a whirlwind, and it's funny because the reason why Miss New York is so successful is because you're in Manhattan, you're making it on your own, you're dealing with appearances and getting there on your own. It's very much a growing experience, and it creates someone that's smart, that's edgy, that's got gumption, that can deal with being Miss America. And then suddenly you have an office full of people that are setting up appearances for you and getting you to wherever you need to be and whisking you off, and the clothes and the hair and makeup for all these big events, the award shows. It's just nothing I've ever ever experienced before in my life. So it really changes your perspective on a lot of things.
A reminder to all of our listeners, every year it's a great tradition here at WPG Talk Radio 1450. We cover the entire parade live, gavel to gavel. It is so much fun, and it is a great event. You can be a part of that on Saturday, September 12th, and the tickets are on sale right now. Ticketmaster.com. You can dial 1-800-745-3000. You can buy tickets for both the final night. You can buy season tickets that will give you all the tickets to the final night, all 3 preliminary competitions. And this is a big deal because everybody that just waits until the final night, a lot of it is already decided. You've interviewed. You've been through prelims.
Through all your prelims.
So much.
And the prelims are so much fun because it's not on live TV, so you get to do a lot more. And the show is amazing. The performers that we have come in are amazing. So I really encourage everybody to try and come to the prelims and see all the girls, and you get to know them a little bit more.
What do you hope to do? I mean, I was doing the math. It wasn't hard. I went to school. You're 9/12 basically through your reign, so you have 3 months left. What do you hope to do?
After I'm done, or with the last 3 months?
Last 3 months.
You know, I just want to take every advantage of every single moment that I can, and make sure every single day I'm being the best Miss America I can be, and just really live in the moment. And so when I am done, I can say, you know what, I really got everything I could get out of this experience, and I'm going to move on a much better and really accomplished person because of these opportunities.
And I know you have to go in just a couple of minutes. Talk a little bit about your platform, Love Shouldn't Hurt, and protecting women against domestic violence.
Well, I've gotten to travel all across the country talking to women in different women's shelters or conferences or whatever it might be, and just raise awareness on the fact that if you talk about domestic violence, if you can report an issue or be brave enough to come forward, then you can make so much of a difference, not only in your life, but in the life of others. And regardless of what's happened in your past, you have the power to control the outcome of your future. And I happened to win Miss America at a time when domestic violence became very, very prominent on the national media landscape. And I've gotten to continue that through my campaign, put the nail in it, through my work with Safe Horizon, and just talking about it on Twitter, on Facebook, on media on a national scale has, I think, made incredible strides in the issue.
So much what you said is true that if you think about it, there's only 5 questions the night of the final evening of who's going to be the next Miss America. 2 of the questions were flat out. The one right before you and the one right after you were flat out domestic violence questions. Yeah. And then you had a question about the military from Lee Merriweather.
Well, I made it about the military.
Okay, you made it about the military. That's correct. You feathered in how women, and these issues are well documented.
Yes.
And you tied it in, you feathered it in perfectly, I thought.
Thank you. I think sexual assault in the military is something that is something everybody should be talking about, because no service member, man or woman, should be having to deal with an issue like that when they're serving our country. Every single one of them, like I said, should be respected and honored and preserved and happy. Now, Love Shouldn't Hurt, is that your theme, or is that your own charity? Do you have a charity that you directly support? So I have an organization called Safe Horizon in New York City. They're the largest domestic violence service providers in the country, and I work directly with them. I don't have my own foundation yet. That is something to be TBD. I'll get back to you on that one. But it's something that's definitely a goal of mine. But Safe Horizon has just been the most wonderful organization to work with. And actually last year, they every single year they have a gala called the Champion Awards. Last year I was there as Miss New York City. I worked in the back for the social media booth. I sat somewhere in the nosebleed seats in the corner. And this year I was there as an honoree and spoke for a few minutes and got to accept an award on behalf of domestic violence victims everywhere. And just, it's very interesting what a difference a year can make. Here's what we're going to do. I know you have to leave within 30 seconds. Okay. You have a lot of appointments here today. I'm going to we have a charity. We do a lot of hard work with great supporters and friends that we have. And I'm going to, from my own charity organization that we run, I'm going to make a $500 donation to Safe Horizon in your name. Thank you. And then when you start your own, I'll make a donation to you. Foundation, I'm going to make a donation to your charity. Okay, and I'll get you a donation from me as well. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I know you have much more ahead still, but you have been a fabulous Miss America. Thank you. I really, really appreciate that. Nice to spend this time with you. Nice to meet you. Thanks for having me. Miss America, here she is. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
For more than 20 years, the D'Amato Law Firm has served as the official lead counsel to the Hurley in the Morning program. Led by certified civil trial attorney Paul D'Amato, the D'Amato Law Firm focuses their practice in representing those who have been seriously injured in construction, products liability, and motor vehicle collisions. The D'Amato Law Firm expertly handles cases throughout the country, but their primary focus is on representing victims injured right here at home in southern New Jersey. They've earned a reputation for excellence. From direct personal experience, I can readily confirm that the D'Amato Law Firm's overall competence, attention to detail, follow-up systems are outstanding, and they truly shine during your moment of truth before judge and jury. The D'Amato Law Firm is centrally located in Atlantic County at 2900 Fire Road, Suite 200. That's the second floor in Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey. That's the corner of Fire Road and the Black Horse Pike. For all of your personal injury legal needs, turn with confidence to the region's leader in the field of personal injury. They're the D'Amato Law Firm. Call 609-926-3300. That's 609-926-3300. And please tell the D'Amato Law Firm that Hurley in the Morning sent you. Hey, Chuck, you're keeping very good company today. Isn't this nice how we had Chuck Malamut, Financial Matters, lovely Miss America, and she is indeed lovely, and then right back to Chuck Malamut. Like nothing happened. This is great. That was fun.
Well, Harry, I stepped out, so I didn't get much of that interview. So I'll have to listen, I guess, on demand when you post it. Yes, I mean, certainly great to have her back. Great for Atlantic City. Couldn't come at a better time.
I mean, when you think about it, Miss America for Atlantic City and for the country, there is such history, such symbolism, and Kira has represented the crown, I believe, with really great integrity, and she's done such a good job. And her platform is so important because it's mostly women. Let's be honest, guys. There's a handful of guys that are victims of domestic violence, but it's basically women that are at the hands of these monsters that can't keep their hands off and are not just physically abusive, but can be very verbally abusive, and that's domestic violence as well. You don't even necessarily have to lay a hand on a woman for it to be immense, domestic violence. So it's great. And Chuck, thanks for the opportunity to start your show, have that star-studded intermission, if you will, and then right back to your program.
Harry, look, my pleasure. It's it kind of feathers. I'm going to get off the Financial Matters just for a little bit because I'm going to just chat about Atlantic City. I had an opportunity to attend the indoor football Soul game on Saturday night, and I'm not sure what the attendance was in there, but it was, I'm going to guess, around 5,000-6,000 if I were to throw a number out. But it was great to see like Miss America, pageant, an event coming to Atlantic City. And I think Harry, what's very important is, a lot of us in the area are the first to complain when things don't go right, particularly in Atlantic City. But when you have an event like we had Saturday night, wouldn't you think the local community should embrace this? And
do you consider the crowd that was there, whether it was just under half filled or at half filled? And I meant to look and to be able to confirm this, but it was at least 5,000 people. It could be as many as 7,000 people. How would you call that a credible showing, poor showing? We should have done better. I will say, and you were there, and I will be honest, I had the chance to be there, but I had a prior engagement. I just couldn't miss it, and I really wanted to be there. I heard it was just an incredible entertainment.
I think if you're going to look for a pure football game, it's going to be very, very hard for that football fanatic, to embrace, the smaller field, not as many players. But I think from the perspective, I mean, you have certainly very, very talented, qualified individuals, playing that game. And it keeps moving. I mean, there's a lot of entertainment that happens, timeouts and halftime. And, Ron Jaworski, pledged that he would be back not once but twice next year. And if he's able to accomplish that, I think it's so terribly important, Harry, that the community embraces, any of these sort of activities.
Here's the funny thing about sports in Atlantic City. Championship Seagulls in basketball couldn't get fans to come out. Championship product in baseball couldn't get fans to come out. Incredible, and you know this very, very well as a manager, Chuck, incredible hockey facility that most locations in the state can only dream. You have to drive to Bricktown, and you do it, Chuck. All these crazy places, and in Pennsylvania and beyond. Here's this incredible, whatever it's called, Flyer Skate Zone or whatever it used to be called. There's that. It wasn't supported like it should have been. Something about, I can't explain it. Maybe it's that the casinos don't support things outside the casinos, but I'm tired of them getting blamed for everything, so I'm not going there. What is it about the sports that Atlantic City doesn't support it? I mean, Miss America in September, Convention Hall, they will be hanging from the rafters. It will be packed. The mega concerts on the beach, they will be packed. Big events that are happening at Boardwalk Hall this summer and all throughout the year, they'll be packed. The sports events and sports teams do not get when Jeff Asser brought the Atlantic 10
and the ECAC.
Yes,
the hockey,
right.
Championship.
When the Boardwalk Bullies, I left out. So what do you have an answer,
Harry? If I had an answer, it'd be real simple. I guess
is an answer that you can't make people go to what they don't want to go to.
I don't. I think maybe the answer might be the population base is such that it cannot, support those sorts of activities. And as you know, there's been discussions for years about having a franchise, not in Atlantic City, but, out by, the Hamilton Mall, for instance, in that particular area. At the racetrack, could you build a baseball stadium and would they, in fact, attend? It's anybody's guess. But, Harry, if you get north of here, Lakewood, you have, I think it's the Blue Claws, which is a single double A affiliate. I mean, they seem to draw, and we have to get. Have to get out of this cycle.
Just like Frank Bolton's team, the Long Island Ducks, sell out every night. This is a Atlantic City phenomenon.
We have to get out of this cycle that's been created for all these years where you have this, unfortunately, this negative bias in whatever you try to accomplish. And geez, Harry, I wish we went yesterday to Blattstein's press conference because I'm really curious.
We had planned to go together, and we both were unfortunately away.
I mean that's going to be very, very exciting for Atlantic City. So I think that again, it's just that negative news cycle, and then it just sort of spills over. But again, I was very, very pleased with and was quite entertained in watching the Philadelphia Soul come to Atlantic City. So I'm hoping and keeping my fingers crossed that they get back down here next year, not once but twice.
Well, they are going to. Jaworski promised, didn't he?
He did, and it's it was great. I mean, and I think that your listeners, when you have these types of events, they need to take the time out of their day, and they need to support these sorts of activities if they want truly this area to be successful.
We're going to take a brief time out. Coming back, one more power segment with Chuck straight ahead, and then we have coming up right after the next break. Not Chuck's doing one more segment after our middle break. We have my favorite national home improvement TV star, Danny Lipford, and he's going to be teaching you how to hunker down for the storm season. He's going to give you tips that will truly make a difference. We'll be back with Chuck Malamut. I'm Hurley in the Morning. We'll be right back. Hey, thanks very much, and welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour. It is Chuck Malamut, and this program that we do every single Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock is brought to us by Chuck Malamut and paid for by Chuck Malamut. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck Malamut and do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Hey, Chuck, in terms of Atlantic City and we broke the news yesterday about the 3 Assembly people before their presser event even took place yesterday at high noon. There is this enormous push to bring not one but multiple casinos to North Jersey. I personally believe deals are in the process of trying to be made. And then they're telling us, and this is not literal, it's just a Hurley in the morning sort of just in italics comment. They're telling us, drink this beverage. It is laced with hemlock, but you will love it, and it is good for you. What person in their right mind would believe that multiple casinos in North Jersey cannibalizing our own industry could possibly be good for Atlantic City? Help me.
Harry, I still struggle with that because, as we have said on multiple occasions, with the ongoing proliferation of casinos throughout this country, I mean, they're literally within driving distance of almost anyone's home. And for the life of me, I think the comment that I read or heard was, well, the casinos in North Jersey, if they're developed, will be more for the day trip. They're not going to be a full-fledged resort like you have in Atlantic City. So those that are looking to go on vacations or conventions, they'll come to Atlantic City. Now, Harry, look, you've watched, listened, read for years. I don't, quite frankly, believe a word of it.
I don't believe it either. I can't see a scenario where that would be helpful. Even if you said that built into the legislation would be $100 million or any number you want to pick, who's going to do the math to show what that actually – I mean, for example, if I said, hey, Chuck, I'll give you $100 million a year for the rest of your life, but you lose $200 or $300 million a year, that's a terrible deal.
Harry, if you go back and you look at why the Casino Act was created, why it was voted on in favor in 1976 and failed miserably in 1974. Now, granted, yes, that was many, many years ago, and a lot of things were done right here and a lot of things were not done correctly. But I think, Harry, the approval, or not the approval, but being able to get this put on the ballot with as many people, the population base, obviously significantly higher in North Jersey than South Jersey. I think you know what the result's going to be. And that final result, if it goes the way I think it'll go, I can't imagine how it's going to be helpful for all of us here in the local community. I mean, for the life of me, it just doesn't make sense.
Not at all. Chuck, what else would you like to
Harry,
share?
Look, we only talked briefly about where we think we're going to go with the economy, throughout the rest of this particular year. When you look around, there continues to be a significant amount of capital on a day-to-day basis in the merger and acquisition world. So, last week alone, there were a couple deals. Charter Communications buying Time Warner. That happened very, very quickly after the other Comcast Time Warner deal, fell apart. Another company, Avago, buying Broadcom, and then just yesterday, Intel buying Altera. So what you're seeing here is this ongoing consolidation within these various industry groups. Obviously, telecommunications was one. Technology another. So that's obviously a good sign, for where we are, in our U.S. economy. Now, if we go back and look, if the confidence level continues to improve and the consumer spends, it should help the economy shift into a higher gear at the remainder for 2015. And believe it or not, I know your comment's going to be, when I throw this out to you, the expectation, believe it or not, should be the economy should grow by about 3% for the year 2015. So to get that done,
so you got to have at least a 4% quarter, followed by 2-3% quarters, because you have to make up the negative almost 1. It's 0.7 of a whole percent negative. So that's, Chuck, I have to say, based on the record of the last 7 years, that's very optimistic.
we did get through it in 2014. We are starting to see,
it's true.
We're starting to see some real positive events, overseas. Europe's been a just a real pain point for all of us for a lot of years. So they're now getting back on track. We've talked about the weakness, that has happened in China, and I don't know how a 7% growth rate is weak, but it is what it is. So, we think there's going to be some global economic growth as we get through 2015 and 2016. So that ultimately is a good sign here for all of us here domestically here in the U.S. But you think about what has happened in the U.S. year to date, Harry. Right now the S&P year to date's up just about 4%, and you've had an extreme amount of volatility day in and day out. As a perfect example, Friday off 118 points, I believe. Yesterday we're up. We don't we're certainly not going to look at the market on a day-to-day basis, but the fact of the matter is the U.S. continues to underperform versus what we're seeing internationally. Whether it's the FTSE, the DAX, the Nikkei, the Hang Seng, all of those indices, Harry, are higher, and a lot of them significantly higher here in the U.S. And so what we have talked about is, again, that trend where your listeners really need to take a serious look at what they own, and they need to clearly understand what sort of international exposure they have. And if they don't have international exposure, they really need to do some sort of adjustments to their portfolios so they do, in fact, get into some international securities.
Chuck, 2-minute drill. Anything on mergers that is
well, as I mentioned before, there were 3 deals of late. Just today or yesterday, Intel, Altera. Prior to that, you had Charter Communications and Time Warner last week, and also last week Avago taking out Broadcom. So,
how tricky is it to decide when the government decides when something is too big and too high concentration versus deals that they don't even seem to blink an eye at?
There's sort of that unwritten. You have the unwritten rules, so to speak, and it's. I guess it's a great position for the government to be in to make a determination of what deal they're going to sanction and what deal they're not. But there was all kinds of anticipation that the prior Time Warner Comcast deal was not going to go. So, and taking it as long as it did, obviously it didn't come to fruition. It kind of set out to investors that, hey, this is going to be a problem, so you need to plan accordingly.
Chuck, as always, great to be with you.
Harry, thanks for having me. We'll see you next week for sure.
Chuck Malamut brings us this program each and every Tuesday morning in the 8 o'clock hour. When we come back, we're going to have national television home improvement star Danny Lipford. The program you've just been listening to, and you've been listening to it for the past almost 2.5 decades, presented by Chuck Malamut from Morgan Stanley in their Northfield office. Chuck is the leader of his team, the Malamut Group, at Morgan Stanley, their Northfield office on New Road. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck, do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of this broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided this hour nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, member SIPC. Chuck, as always, all-star appearance.
Harry, thanks for having me again.
And as you feather out, a very good source of our program, this is a high-ranking figure, actually, wrote in, the word is if casinos go in North Jersey, they will not be required to contribute to the Casino Revenue Fund to benefit seniors and the disabled. During Casinos in Atlantic City era, that fund has generated $10 billion into that fund. People, I think sometimes, this broadcaster, not in that crowd because we talk about it all the time. You think about the $10 billion that have gone to fund very vital senior programs. Imagine the quality of life in this state for our seasoned citizens were it not for the past 35 years of casino gambling, Chuck.
Harry, as this unfolds,
and this isn't the kick in the face that we deserve for that.
As this unfolds and develops, I mean, there's going to be that constant nagging issue that's going to be, they're going to basically be saying, see, Atlantic City, we gave you an opportunity, you couldn't get it right, so now we have to take it in our own hands to make it right for the state of New Jersey. I know that's how it's going to unfold, and unfortunately, not good.
So I don't like that last part. If that's in the cards, they got some whole scheme here for how this is going to go down. If anything, if casinos happen in New Jersey, they'd have to come under the Casino Control Act. They would have to follow the rules. We're not going. Are we talking about carving out new rules just for them? This is bad,
Harry. Anybody's guess. More to come, and hopefully.
But for anybody who thought like you don't pay attention when you know something is going to happen, just like when they tell you a year in advance that some onerous change in your life is going to be taking place, don't wait until the day that the change hits, because there is a campaign. And here's the sad thing, Chuck. I think even part of South Jersey is in the tank for this. So it's not even like it's the whole southern portion of the state versus the rest of the state. This is a lot of the southern portion of the state and North Jersey in cahoots. Because let's look who's supporting it now. And southernmost New Jersey, Atlantic, Cape May, Hope, Cumberland, a little further out maybe, parts of Monmouth maybe, that we're actually going to be fighting 3/4 of the state or more.
You know, Harry, this reminds me of the battle that was waged in 74 and 76,
yeah.
And it was a battle. And
well, it lost statewide, as you know.
In 74,
and then Atlantic City only. Because the North said, hey, you want to trash yourself? You know, we don't want it here, but all right, we'll vote for that. You can have it. Now they want it. No thanks.
Yeah, we'll see where this goes for sure.
Good
Harry, thanks again.
Thank you. Coming up next, our whirlwind day. Literally, it's felt like a 3-hour nonstop sprint. Not a 4-hour and 6-minute marathon. National Home Improvement star Danny Lipford, next.